Oh, no.
Hey, everyone. Marianne and Michelle again. Wait a couple minutes and give people a chance to see that we are live. I am not seeing anyone on yet. This is impromptu, so no one get upset that we didn't plan this. We just decided to do this.
Well, it's a follow-up to Friday because we did say we were going to come on early, but again, stuff gets in the way and, we want to tweak it and make sure everything we got together and then, how that goes.
Yeah. Well, we were hoping to get on by like 11, 12.
Well, yeah, well, that didn't happen, as you can see.
Just a few hours late. Guess everyone is still oh, Carol says hi, I'm on. Hi, Carol, nice to see you. I think you're our only person on because I'm not even seeing. Are you seeing anybody?
Oh no, Diane Garcia.
Well, we were hoping to get on by
wait.
Oh, got it.
I got
There
it.
you go.
So we got some.
We have a few people.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, wait, Gary Porto.
8 other people. I'm not even seeing numbers for some reason. So
neither, but that's okay.
So today's homework assignment. We are going to start sharing an assignment with you. Hi, Felicia. So what I want to talk about with Michelle today is we need you to start tomorrow morning with making phone calls. And who are the phone calls going to be to? So get out a pen and paper and a pad, but it will also be on this post, but I'll wait a second, go get something to write on.
Get your crayon.
This is going to be a nice homework assignment, and we will put everything in this post. You're not going to have it right now, but once it goes up, everything will be attached to it. Don't worry, or at least following it. It'll be marked in announcements. It'll be in the files section of our page. So if you go to the top and you see files, it'll be there. I may have to go in and edit it so that I can link the file to it, but we'll figure all that out. But we will try to make sure that we mark it so that you can find it very easily. So what do we want you to do? So here are your phone calls tomorrow. If you have a union, and most of you do, you're going to call your union. You're also going to call and ask to speak to Mr. Nespoli from the MLC because he's the chair of the MLC. We're going to give you that phone number in a moment. And then you're also going to call the UFT and you're going to ask to speak to Michael Mulgrew. And no matter what calls you make, of course, because we're adults and mature, we're going to be polite and professional, okay? So you ready? The Sanitation Men's Union, because the MLC doesn't seem to have a phone number, at least if they do, I can't seem to find one. The Sanitation Men's Union, where Mr. Nespoli is the president, his phone number is 212-964-8900. That's 212-964-8900. They also have a fax number of 212-961. Can't even remember writing. I think it's 7024. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you. 7074. 212-691-7074 is the fax number for sanitation. You will need to look up your own organization's phone numbers because no, I do not have those. And you also have a million different unions. That would not be possible. Let me quickly look up the phone number for the UFT. I was on their website, and if someone else is on here and you can feel free to correct me. The phone number for the UFT I have is 212-331-6311. I'm sure someone from UFT must have knowledge of a either phone or fax number there. And actually, when I pull up their Google their Google number. The Google number comes up as 212-777-7500. And I'm not seeing a fax number for them. These all look like phone numbers. Directory, borough office, department and programs, UFT officers and vice, and most of them have emails. So if you go to the website on uft.org, and we'll post that up there too. Let me know if you see any other numbers other than that. So what are we going to share, right? Well, remember, first rules are, because we are mature, responsible adults, we will always be professional. That's the first mark. No getting cranky. Next is, let me see if I can share this screen with everybody. Share screen.
Again, just be nice, because you know what's going to happen. You start getting angry, you start screaming, and you're going to talk to, as I always say, Mr. or Mrs. Click. And Mrs. and Mrs. Click is, they're going to hang up on you. Okay.
I remember Jacko used to say, Lieutenant, who's this? Lieutenant Click. To introduce him to Lieutenant Click.
Right.
Okay, so here is our one-page document, and it is really, I want you to read through this before you start making your phone calls. You want to read through this and try to explain to them the differences between traditional Medicare and Medicare Advantage and why you don't want this plan. And the reason is because there's some MLC meetings coming up next week, next Monday and next Wednesday. So I want to make sure that all of you are able to communicate to your unions, as well as to Mr. Nespoli and to Mr. Mulgrew, that you're not happy about being forced into this plan. You want to make sure that the city doesn't kill your senior care plan or all the other plans, and that leaves you have options on the table. And how would you do that? Knowledge, because you have been saying to us all of these months, all of the things that you're not happy with. And some of you are affected in a very serious way. You can also mention the copays, but this is where the differences are, the major differences between traditional Medicare and traditional Medicare and Medicare Advantage, and go through these. If you're not familiar with some of these, we've actually, go to our YouTube channel. We did a few videos on some of them, and you'll remember us talking about them with some of the talking points when we do these interviews with other retirees. This is what I want you to relay. When you call your union, if you have one, the UFT and Mr. Nespoli from the MLC, actually, you know what? We're leaving out Mr. Garrido.
What was that?
We're leaving out DC 37, another major voter, another major voting party within the MLC.
Right.
Make that 3 phone calls. Your union, actually that's 4 phone calls. Your union, the UFT, the MLC, and District Council 37. DC 37's DC 37, I know I'm going to have this somewhere. Their main switchboard, I'd rather try to get you to the executive offices. Let's see if I could quickly find this.
All right, well, you do that. Again, I know you're going to ask them, Mulgrew, they're going to say he's not available. We understand that, Mr. Push it. But again, you need to speak to a union member, a union delegate, somebody that is going to listen and get involved. Just like we have, Mabel with a beard, and we have Len Basile and a couple of others that are feet on the ground, and others that are spreading the word with our flyers of what's going on. This is the opportunity to get this word out there, because this is going to put the pressure on them, because these are the ones that have the power of the vote, okay, to make the change. So we start from the ground up, and now we're going to go across, and we're going to make these calls this week.
Okay. So yes, DC 37's executive office phone numbers 212-815-1511, and you're going to ask to speak to Mr. Garrido, and let him know that you know that that he is on the MLC, and it is very important because from our understanding, if you have the UFT and the DC 37 vote, they can pretty much sway the way things go. And the reason why we're asking you to make these phone calls, right? The reason for these phone calls is, one, you will educate your union as to the problems with this plan and why it cannot be the only plan that's left on the table, because that's one of the things that the city is considering, is like we've been calling it the nuclear option, killing all plans and leaving just this map on the table. We don't want to see that happen, but the only way we can get to that point is by educating the unions. We are going to try educating the unions as well by trying to invite them to a meeting, but we would like you guys to do this with us. Educate your union why this cannot be the only plan left on the table. Educate Mr. Garrido, Mr. Nespoli, and Mr. Mulgrew, because those are the three highest people on the MLC. As we've been advised that because the UFT and DC 37 are the largest unions within the MLC, they carry the most weighted vote, and that they would be able to, whichever way they want, even if every other union voted in opposition, if those two unions voted together, guess what? It goes their way. And so we want you to be able to speak to them, their office, ask us, and if they are not available, your union receptionist, is going to answer the phone. You ask for the president, you ask for the vice president, you ask for any officer that's available, ask for the borough delegate, ask whoever is in the office. Obviously, we don't want to speak to the custodian. We want to speak to someone who has some power within the local that can talk to you. Now, we will post these phone numbers on this post so that you can go back and refer to them. So don't ask for them a second and third time. We will put it all up in there, and then you can go back and rewatch this video if you need to. So the talking points, do you want to run through this?
Yeah, that's fine. And then I'll end up with a closing note because, we'll run through this. And again, and I'll reiterate it when we're done, is the bottom line is, as much as the actives and the unions, they don't want to hear it. Okay. And they think, oh, well, they're retired. It doesn't matter. It's their benefits. Who cares? This is going to open the door, and it is going to affect them down the road. Whether they want, they can sit there and stomp their feet and say, no, 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 it's just them. No, because by doing this here, it's going to affect them down the road. So again, it is something to open up the conversation and to let them know, okay, that yes, as I say, it will be coming for you too. Not today.
Well, and that's important, right? Good point, Michelle. We are going to bring that point to the unions. You should bring it to them as well, that they are going to be voting on this, that they think it's just impacting us. They need to be reminded that this is going to impact them. That not only will this plan impact them, but if they give the city the ability to do this, the city's going to do this to them coming next. Meaning not just this plan, but they will start to make changes to their own benefits. And all of their contracts are pretty much expired, as is the health contract. So let's run through this kind of quickly. It is a lot to absorb. This is the message we want to teach them. What are the differences between the plans? Because most people that are younger, 30, 40, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they really aren't yet familiar with how this plan works and what's the difference. And all they keep hearing, as Claire Levitt says, the noise. She said, I don't want to hear the noise. The noise that they keep hearing is that this plan is the same. It's the same. The city says it's the same. The Alliance says it's the same, but we need to teach them that it's not. And how do you do that? You just don't say it. You have to prove it to them. And this is your proof. So the new plan will force retirees to pay more. And how will it do that? Traditional Medicare with GHI supplemental had no copays until they were implemented in 2022 to match the copays in the MAP plan. Copays are an additional burdensome cost retirees did not count on and come amid soaring inflation. Next point, and that one's easy to understand. Next point is the new MAP is being promoted as having a cap on out-of-pocket expenses of $1,470. but retirees would have to visit the doctor 98 times to reach the cap. A cap wasn't an issue in the traditional Medicare because there were no copays. Now, we understand there's a very small segment of our population of retirees that have very severe illnesses and that they see a doctor many times. We got a phone call about it today that this lady was very upset because between her and her husband, she will see the doctor so often it would cost her like $450 or $490 a month. At that point, that's not even where she's even being potentially charged the penalty premium to be in this plan. That's just this. In that situation, that's very hard for someone to accept, which is why the copay should never even have been instituted on a retired person. Retiree agreements in stepped care living communities require that they maintain traditional Medicare and not MAP. Now, we did a video on that, so refer to YouTube, that there are many of our retirees that do live in communities that go from independent living to skilled nursing if needed. And through that stepped care, they have to file a contract in order to reside there. And one of those agreements is that they promise to maintain their traditional Medicare. The reason being is that Medicare Advantage comes with all these prior authorizations, hurdles that the facility has to jump through to approve a person's time and treatment there, and sometimes even length of stay. Where we will probably be doing a video with Madeline where she will be able to explain very similar situation. I did a video also on YouTube about a retired corrections officer who took his mom out of Maimonides, went across the street to an in-network facility within her own network of Medicare Advantage, and they refused her to pay her. His siblings had to pay over $5,000 for the few days that they were there. I mean, this is crazy. You, as a senior who may need these kinds of services, don't need to be going through this when you're not well. The last point in that section is the Alliance contract required other plans to charge a penalty premium to retirees for not choosing the MAP. That was the 191.57 we were talking about. The next section, the new plan will make it harder to get health care. Under traditional Medicare, members can see any doctor that accepts Medicare, but Medicare Advantage plans have networks. If your doctor is not in network, members may have to pay upfront and hope the service is determined to be medically necessary so that they get reimbursed. If you have to pay and don't get reimbursed, it doesn't count towards your cap on out-of-pocket expenses. We did a video on that too. So these are some more talking points that you can go into. If you have a question about them, put them in the chat, and Michelle, while I'm reading through these, she'll start to scan them and then we'll answer them at the end. Not all doctors who accept Medicare have to accept Medicare Advantage. That is also, all of you know, you've sent us all of those notarized affidavits. Next point, the MAP requires prior authorization for tests or procedures, something that doesn't exist under traditional Medicare. We don't have to worry about any of that right now. And that, if they approve this happening, that will go into effect. And explain to them, why is a prior authorization a bad thing? That it delays your care. They could take up to 10 to 14 days to do it. They determine whether or not it's medically necessary, even though your own doctor's saying it's medically necessary. Again, a delay in treatment. There's also an American Medical Association study that was done that said that prior authorizations had a negative impact on their patients' care. And we will make sure that you see that link as well, because if you want to read it, that might be something interesting for you to read. The MAP requires prior authorization for tests and procedures. I read that one, okay. Oh, this is where it is. The MAP requires prior authorization for tests or procedures, something that didn't exist under traditional Medicare. According to the American Medical Association, prior authorization leads to delayed medical care and patient injury. See, there's a footnote 1. If you go all the way down to the bottom, there's the link. I knew I remembered it, I just didn't remember where it was. Providers can drop out of MAP at any time with no advanced warning. This doesn't happen with traditional Medicare. This disrupts continuity of care and results usually from contractual issues and poor reimbursement. Those are those articles you guys are sending us that like the hospital up in Maine dropped Anthem, the hospital in Chicago dropped Anthem. So those, same story. You may not know what's covered until you are in the plan. A recent retiree who requires a transplant could not be told if the map would cover a transplant. If he went into it, the Alliance told him he would be dropped to the bottom of a transplant list. That again is another impact, negative impact of going into a Medicare Advantage plan. And now, after you've been on the list for a very long time, being told that you would end up starting all over. MAP makes the decision about rehab and skilled nursing facility admissions and the length of stay. In traditional Medicare, doctors make the decisions. Now, this is not the first time that we've heard that. This is actually the second time that we've had a member with this situation. Okay, next. The city removed all choices of health plans from retirees. There were 14 plans to choose from. So now we know that you used to have these 14 plans. Now you only have the plan that you're in. And if their plan goes into effect, it's their plan and the Medicare Advantage plan. They took all other choices away from you. People had choice for a reason because you had different needs. With a Medicare Advantage plan, you can have no other insurance plan. This includes a spouse's plan or private Part D. Drugs that exceed the welfare fund, if available or aren't in the formulary, require the retiree to buy a private Part D plan. We did a video on that too. There's also a footnote that brings you back down to the bottom, and it says the MAP requires the retiree to exhaust the welfare fund before the rider can be used, thereby draining the union's welfare fund. The retiree must pay $125 for a plan they can't use until the welfare fund is exhausted. So that is another issue. Many of you are actually in that same situation, and we have videos on that on YouTube as well. If the CMS subsidy that funds the MAP is ever reduced, the city would have to decide to pay the difference, pass the cost to the retirees, or to renege on the benefit altogether. And what would end up happening is, and this is also we found in the contract, that the city can, the Alliance can actually reduce the coverage that they provide to us, i.e. reduce your benefit, because the value of what they were being paid has been reduced. So that would be another problem, is because the perks that you have today, you may not have tomorrow if all of a sudden the subsidy changes. The last note on here says the MA perks, the MAP perks are really the PITs. Perks like the Fitbits, the meals, the medical rides require a qualified event and prior authorization, and medical rides are offered through Access to Ride, which is not available in all areas. Must be booked 48 hours in advance and be within a 30-mile radius. We've talked about that a million times. I'm pretty sure that one was pretty crystal clear. The last note we have in here is the city manipulated the cost of HIP VIP, a closed plan, to $7.50 from $188 in order to charge retirees in other plans an additional $191.57 a month. And that part, if you don't want to talk about that, that's fine. That is our talking point to the unions, and they will understand what that means. Is the city's been manipulating some of these rates, and we want them to know how they've done it and why they did it, and the danger of that happening. So these are basically our talking points that we want to share with you. This is our draft. It's just about finalized. I think I saw someone in the office asking me to make a change. Did you catch that?
Oh, she wanted, it was Ellen Reiser. She wanted to know if you could replace the bullets with numbers for traditional format. Lisa said that she was late, and what's the role for managerial retirees? So, you know, I guess just call.
Yeah, so you're all the same, whether you have a union or not. Your role is all the same. If you don't have a union, you don't have a union to call. If you're an MBF, and you're an MEA, call MEA. But if you don't have a union, you still need to call Mr. Garrido, Mr. Nespoli, and Mr. Mulgrew. That is still your homework. Teachers always complain, I'm telling you.
I know, it wasn't a teacher. It was just, but yeah.
Okay, so you want me to change them? If I don't change them to 1, 2, 3s, I'll do either 1, 2, 3s or ABCs rather than bullets. I know sometimes they're hard to find, even when my eye is talking and then looking back up, to follow them, it isn't always following. So I will make that change for you. Thank you.
Right. And again, like we said, if you want to email them out, if you have specific emails to union delegates and go knock your socks off, just you gotta get the word out there. We need to bring it home and put the pressure on. We got guys on foot, but we gotta.
Len and Mabel, and if anyone could join Len and Mabel, that would be awesome. Was there anything else that we needed to address in there? Email, yes, Karen, you can definitely email this to UFT officers. You can email this anywhere you want it.
Right. And again, and then Lisa made a comment, plus participants in managed long-term care plans cannot be in a MAP per Anthem. So again, that's one of the bullet points that's in there.
Managed long-term care plans. Participants in managed long-term care plans. Lisa, can you explain that to me?
Okay, Sharon Grunfield, question. If I understand this correctly, the city took away all plans except the one you are in or MAP. It went down to 750 and GHI is 191. Is that correct? What makes you think the unions who supported this will have a change of heart? No.
Okay, no. Okay, so let's take your question apart from the beginning. If I understand this correctly, the city took away all plans except the one you're in or MAP. That is what they were saying until the court decision came down. Right now, we have no clue what the hell exists because the city hasn't come back after appealing the decision with what they're going to do. We know that come fall, around the same time that the court will hear our case, we're going into open enrollment and it's the year for retirees. What will happen? We have absolutely no idea. But for right now, the last rule that was on the OLR website was they were preventing a retiree from enrolling into any other plan. You could only stay in the plan that you're in or MAP.
Right.
And since the city paused MAP, we didn't do that. The city was given the okay to go ahead and implement MAP, but the city paused it because it couldn't have been, the contract couldn't be funded because the judge put the kibosh on charging us, okay? So I can't really fully answer that question, but right now, the last rule was you could not move into Aetna, Cigna, Empire, okay? That may change. HIP went down to 750 and GHI is 191. I'm gonna say yes, technically. The city put a rate of $7.50, and if you go up to the OLR website and go to the COBRA page, COBRA is what they charge you. Remember, it's 102% of the cost of the plan. So if you back out the 2%, you will see approximately what the cost would be to pay for these plans. Look at how many plans are $7.50. And as the city, if you read the city's documents, it said that the city, I think Aetna and HIP also went down to the same $7.50 to stay competitive. So yes, the GHI plan is about, they're pegging that rate at about 191.57. What makes you think the unions who supported this will have a change of heart? I think, Sharon, education, because the only thing that the unions heard before was our stabilization fund is going bankrupt and we have to do this. But as the unions we've been speaking to, they're not being told that there were other things that they could have chosen. They're not being told. They were never shown the contract, and they were all told that this plan mirrored senior care. They were lied to. And that's one of the most consistent things, right, Michelle, that we heard?
Right, and we even hear it from Mabel with a beard, because he's been in a couple of sanitation garages and speaking to firefighters and police, and they have no idea. They really did not know. Some of them are, and some of these guys are getting ready to retire, and they have no idea. And like I mentioned earlier, if you think this just affects us and these actives think this just affects us, this is the foot in the door, and this is going to open up to affect them next, meaning actives. Okay, so guess what? Yeah, it's you think, oh, no big deal, no big deal. It's just actives, it's just retirees. They're going to bitch, they're going to complain and whatever. But guess what? There's always an underlying reason behind all that, and it's got to start somewhere. So it's going to start here, and then it's going to just trickle down, and we all know what rolls downhill. Okay, so guess what? I'm telling you. All right.
So educate them, because they don't know. And all they know is what they were told, and that's what they believe, just like we did. And then once you realize you were lied to, it's very upsetting. Remember, they're going to go through disbelief. They're going to get upset. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to check what you're saying, because now they're going to be getting a lot of phone calls about it, and they want to make sure that what they're being told, where is this outrage coming from, or is this another antic rump tactic? But they need to be educated, and we just can't educate as many hundreds of unions that are out there with all of this ourselves. We just can't, which is why you need to come into play, because these are your people. Educate your people. Let them understand where you're coming from. They didn't do this to hurt you. They did this because they didn't know any better. They did this because it was a plan that was put in front of them so that they would be able to save what they had, because they don't really understand the differences.
Right, it's the differences. And when you take something like a benefit or the stabilization fund or PICA or welfare fund, and you threaten it with something, people go into a panic. And and then right there, no matter what is said to save that specific item, whatever it is, they don't want to hear anything else. So as far as they're concerned, is this is what we need to do, and this is what we need to save, and I don't care. And then they vote, and then it goes, and then the truth comes out, and or we discover the truth, or people we find out what's going on. Right. And then what happens is, and then we start educating people, and that's what we've been doing. And we educate people on what's going on, and we have the proof. So it's not like we're just blurting stuff out there. We have the proof, and we say, no, this is what this is, and here's the proof, and here's the RFPs, and here's all the documents. They're like, oh, they didn't tell us that. They didn't tell us that. Well, it's a day late, dollar short now, because you guys voted on it. And
they don't understand what they did, that they thought this was just affecting us. They don't realize that this was, also how this would also affect them. And the other way to show that, Ellen, you made a good point. You said many people planning to retire soon are also unaware that moving out of state now creates more problems, as the city closed that special Florida and other plans for new retirees. Yes, because you can even tell them how difficult it was just even having emblem in Florida. GHI people in Florida were having a very hard time finding physicians, even so far as within 50 or 100 miles from them, because the network is being decimated from within because of the poor reimbursement. So this is why those other special plans existed. And actually, that's why the special plans like the Cigna plan in Arizona was actually implemented, was because people in different geographic regions have a different need, and the plans that they had weren't covering those regions. So that would be a pretty good way of, being able to explain that. So I don't see any other questions. I don't see any other questions. Lisa, I'm going to go back to that. And if I need to message you, just check your IMs later, because I will probably message you if I haven't messaged you before. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say, but I do just want to remind you, stay calm, read these bullet points. You'll probably only get to say one or two. So pick one or two and let them know, and then say, well, you know, if so-and-so is not available, can I speak to so-and-so? Or so, you know, and just keep trying, and then just keep calling back. You've got 4 phone calls to make if you have a union, other than Mr. Garrido, Mr. Nespoli, and Mr. Mulgrew. You will also have your union if you have a union. If you are in MBF or you are in MEA, call MEA. That would be another organization if you're getting your benefits, you know, through them. I wish I had a phone number for Ms. Campion and Ms. Levitt. If anyone does, hey, let us know. We'll be more than happy to share those, because they should hear you too, because clearly Ms. Levitt, who designed this plan, was not aware that these problems exist. So with that, I'm done. Are you done?
Again, be nice. Be nice. Don't start yelling at them. And again, don't pick some good points, you know, again.
Pick 2 or 3, don't read the whole thing. You're never going to get there. And hey, say, hey, you got a fax number? I'd love to fax this to you. Or hey, you got an email address? Let me email this to you.
Right. Start with that. Hey, you got a fax number? I want to send something to you. And then start
by the time you talk to them.
Right, by the time I talk to him, you know, Mr. or Mrs. Click is gonna, you know, get on board. Okay, so again,
email is going to be the way to go, because some of these unions aren't even there, and they're probably not going to answer there if they're not in the offices. But email, fax, that kind of thing, and then definitely on the phone. And good luck. We will probably, to the moderators on our page, we will probably ask to open up one thread. I know Judith is really good at putting those little post-it thingies. Make a post-it for this homework assignment, not the question one, specifically this, to limit the question to this, and put your question starting this for, you know, starting tomorrow morning, or put it up there for tonight. That way, anyone who's having a problem or they want to give feedback, that will be the place to put it on our Facebook page. For those that will eventually watch this on YouTube and get it in the email, feel free to shoot us an email if you're having a problem, or you want to give us some feedback, positive or negative, like that you're getting, whether that they don't know or they're interested in finding out. But we will be sending an invite to those union officers to meet with us on Friday, and we are hoping that they join us. So on that note, I wish everybody a happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend, and Michelle and I will probably come chat with you on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, there'll be a Zoom on Friday like we always do before we close the page. Don't worry, Ellen. Yes, that was the last question. Thank you, Judith. Thanks for all our moderators, guys, keeping up the page.
Yeah.
And thank you for all the support and donations, and we love you. And
thank you, Joe. Always being here. All right, guys, take it easy, and we'll see you Friday. Bye.